Today's top picks from Reuters breaking views. German business software giant SAP treads water as the tech tide turns against it. And why fracking's big benefit may be steadier oil prices. Reuters breaking views economics editor Edward Hadas is with me now. Edward, thanks very much indeed for joining us once again. Let's start with the SAP. Near-term ambition gets lost in the cloud. What are you getting at here?
That's simple enough that the big trend in software is to cloud computing, and SAP has, like many traditional companies, been a little late getting on it. It's made some acquisitions, it's moving in that direction, but it's still a little behind the curve there, and its other revenues, which is still 93% of the business, is suffering a bit. So, it's had to delay its margin target, and its revenue targets were announced a few weeks ago that it wasn't meeting its targets, but today it announced the full year results with some somewhat more depressing sense of it's going to take a while.
So that's the background to it, but
Right.
But in terms of long-term strategy, are they on the right track?
Sure, there's not a lot of debate about what the right track is. It's just that a lot of companies are basically on the same track, and so you're competing against Oracle and in some sense against Google, and it's going to be tough for them to get there. But they're pretty good company. They've evolved over time, so it's not a bad bet.
Okay. But what about, is this just investor short-termism? They've come out, they've been honest, and here I suppose I'm taking the company view here. We're being honest. It's not ramping up quite as fast as we'd like it to, but we're still on the correct track,
yes.
And the investors will just have to wait.
Yes, that's certainly true. But in this case, I love complaining about investors being too short-term, but actually management said X, and now they've said, well, X was a little ambitious.
Oh, so it's a change of view.
It is a change of tone
okay.
for management, and so investors are right to feel, this isn't quite what we were hoping.
Okay, well, we'll ask the co-CEO a little bit later on. We'll be speaking to him a little later on today. Let's move on to fracking then. Big benefits, maybe steadier oil prices.
Okay.
How so?
Simple enough. The oil price has, in fact, been quite steady the last few years, and in a little bit that's remarkable because there have been several political outages, if you will, in Libya, Nigeria, Iran, Iraq, where you've had some problems. And one of the reasons for that is that the U.S. frackers are producing at full tilt, and that's been quite a bit of oil by international standards. It's really made up for this shortfall, along with increased Saudi production. So, our argument is really twofold. The first is, looking backwards, we can see that fracking has already stabilized oil prices in a period when otherwise they might have risen more. And looking forward, we're making the point that fracking is a relatively easy kind of production. The wells tend to be small. It's relatively easy to start and stop production. And so our thought is that it could be that over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years that the flexible supply of fracked oil in the U.S. Will have a very positive effect in terms of reducing the volatility of oil, not just keeping the price down.
So this is more about sentiment than anything else, possibly, because fracking still only accounts for, 4.5% of total output?
Yeah, it's a little more than sentiment, I'm happy to say.
Right.
It's actually on the margin. Prices are determined by marginal production, and so if there's a marginal surplus, that keeps prices low. That said, the current price is well above the cost of production, so there's a bit of monetary policy in the price and a bit of this and that, but we're basically in a market that where fracking has been a stabilizing force in the real world and not just in sentiment.
Okay, so this is not about Americans just being sort of more confident in their ability not to be totally reliant on the Middle East.
There's some of that, but this is actually a global market where there is a global effect. American imports are down, and that has an effect on global prices.
Okay, thank you very much for that. That is all for now. My thanks to Reuters Breaking Views economics editor Edward Hadas. For more agenda-setting financial insight, watch our US Breaking Views show every day at 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 GMT. I'm Nigel Stevenson. This is Reuters.
2,600 participants, among them 40 heads of state, have begun descending on the small Swiss alpine town of Davos. Yes, it's World Economic Forum time again. The theme this year, it's a big one, reshaping the world, consequences for society, politics and business. Of particular interest, President Hassan Rouhani of Iran. The first time since 2004 a sitting president of Iran will attend. Will we see a bilateral with the US? Will Rouhani avoid bumping into Israeli PM Netanyahu? Some of the questions already being asked here in Davos. Join us every day, Wednesday through Saturday, for the big name interviews and breaking stories.